Good morning and welcome to the Center for Spiritual Living Midtown. So glad you're with us today. We're starting a new theme this month entitled A Pause for Guidance. Today's talk is Time for a Tune-Up, something I think we can all use. And our speaker today will be Cynthia McCarthy, Reverend Cynthia McCarthy. So I'm really pleased to have her with us again, sharing as our guest speaker. So I'm glad you joined us. If you are here for the first time, know that we are a center that welcomes all people. We are a center that welcomes all people of any race, denomination, any background, any kind of, however you identify yourself, ethnically or sexually or sexual identity wise or any of those things. I'm not going to try to name them all because all of them we know are expressions of life. And what we know and what we teach and what we always lead off with is the statement that such is the nature of life, that all it wants and all it needs is the opportunity to appear. You're that opportunity. So am I, and so it is. So whoever you are, wherever you are, your life's opportunity, and what some would say God's opportunity, to be something unique and something special. These are the ideas we believe in, and most importantly, we believe in you and your ability to create the life of your desire. So share with me these declarations of principles, and I'll read them as you follow along on the screen. I believe in one God, one absolute power and first cause to all things. I believe that this power is perfect love, and it creates out of a desire to express love. I believe that all thought is creative, and how I choose to think creates my personal experience. I believe in the unity of all life and the immortality of the individual soul forever unfolding. I believe in the eternal goodness, the eternal loving kindness, and the eternal givingness of God to all. And so it is. So each week, we have an opportunity for some individuals within our organization to share with you. These are known as licensed practitioners. And what they are practitioners of is prayer. They are practitioners of spiritual guidance. And as they each come to that title, they do so by years of study, by demonstrating that not only can they utilize these teachings, utilize the prayer and the methods of prayer that we teach to change things in their own lives, but they can do it for other people as well. And so when they demonstrate that, we provide a license, and they are then free to work for you in working in your consciousness and for your consciousness to bring about change. So today we have one of our wonderful practitioners who is going to be sharing with us some thoughts, some ideas, and finally a spiritual mind treatment, which is affirmative prayer. So stay tuned for the wonderful and amazing Maya Fuller. Take it away, Maya.
Thank you, Dr. Bob. Good morning, CSO Midtown and friends, wherever you are around the world as you're viewing this broadcast, either live or on the replay, be that via Zoom, Facebook, YouTube. The best greetings to you. I salute you for your commitment to yourself and to expanding your consciousness by your presence here today. And what a day today is. We find ourselves on the first day of August. We're approaching the end of summer 2021. It's amazing how time flies, right? Have you had a glorious summer so far? The fun, exciting summer that dreams are made of? Or have you had a slightly less adventurous summer this year as we're still tiptoeing around COVID-19? In either case, I assure you that you find yourself in the right and perfect place for your soul's unfoldment. In fact, Many of the spiritual gurus of our current time have spent the past year and a half pointing out to us that this global pandemic that we still find ourselves in has a purpose. For everything under the sun, there's a season and a reason. These enlightened spiritual ones have encouraged us to look at this season as a time set aside for our spiritual expansion. We've heard the call that the age of Aquarius is upon us, and now is our opportunity to take a deep look into our souls and into our lives and into ourselves, and to do the spiritual work that our souls are calling for us to do, so that we might emerge individually and collectively from our cocoons of the old man with its old ways of whatever degrees of limited thinking and ideas of disconnection from our source that we might have harbored, so that we might emerge renewed in all of our glory and a new and improved man or woman standing in power, with a fully greater degree of awareness of who and what we are as magnificent spiritual beings. This pandemic period is nearing its end. So how do you rate yourself in terms of your conscious metamorphosis into this new age, into this new man, woman that you're called to be? Well, my friends, whatever rating you've assigned yourself, we know that the very nature of our soul is expansion, so that there are always deeper depths and higher heights to be reached in our spiritual walk. And we still have time to take advantage of the momentum toward change that this global shift in awareness is offering us. To that end, Centers for Spiritual Living, the international organization, is putting out a call to its members and friends to take the month of August as a time to pause for guidance. And this week's talk, which Reverend Cynthia will expertly present for us, I'm sure, is entitled Time for a Tune-Up. So we're hearing it. Let's pause for guidance. It's time for a tune-up. The fun thing about summer is that this is the time of year when many people so often take this opportunity to travel, to connect with people, to explore new places and things. And one fun way of travel that many spiritually minded people partake of during the summer months is to go on retreats or take sabbaticals, to take time out from the hustle and bustle of everyday life and to slow down and go within. People travel the globe to go to spas and health and wellness centers, to meditation retreats, to experience healing waters, to go on spiritual pilgrimages of all sorts. So summer is a great time for us to take advantage of this August theme of taking a pause for guidance and offering ourselves a spiritual tune-up in fun and exciting ways. In 2021, much like 2020, however, although travel's on the rise, many people are still choosing to stay at home until the COVID-19 crisis fully subsides. So it would seem to many of us that this year, this August, is not the best time to go on a spiritual retreat. But I have a little story for you. One day this past spring, I was sitting in for Dr. Bob on his Wisdom Wednesday evening session. And I was presenting about my favorite subject within this teaching, which is manifestation and demonstration, and how we create the lives of our dreams. And on that evening, I met this lovely woman who shared that she was in the process of taking a deep dive into her spirituality as a means with connecting with the life of her dreams. She explained that she lives in Canada and she found our center online. She said that she'd been spending Wisdom Wednesdays with us as part of a 6-week self-guided online spiritual retreat that she had created for herself. She said that she just let her fingers do the walking by doing a Google search to see what kinds of programs and classes were being offered online through Centers for Spiritual Living. And whatever offering she found that tickled her fancy and fit into her time zone and schedule, she incorporated into her schedule of daily practice for her home-based spiritual retreat experience. How awesome does that sound? How original, creative, meaningful, resourceful does that sound? How doable does that sound as a way for us to take a deep dive into whichever aspects of our spirituality are calling for us to be healed, whatever truths are calling to us to be revealed, whatever shifts in consciousness are calling to us to take place? Now, this August spiritual retreat idea doesn't have to look the same way as this lovely woman's looked. What we are being called to do is to be open, to learn more, to accept more, to know more of the truth of who we are as spiritual beings, whether that be in a daily practice of silent, personal meditation and contemplation, be it through reading books or journaling, or be it through connecting with spiritual community, taking a class or two, or 3 or 5. You create your August tune-up in the way that you desire. You can add Dr. Bob's Tuesday afternoon connection sessions to it. You can add joining in our Sunday morning discussion groups. The options are endless. Your soul's expansion is beckoning. How will you answer the call? Now is the time for us to treat our minds to know the truth that we can make ourselves available to taking the time to do the deep dive into our spiritual growth this month. So let us just settle ourselves and take this opportunity for treatment. I'm going to recite this prayer treatment in the first person, and I invite you to receive for yourself anything that I say that resonates sweetly with you, and to gently leave behind the rest. There is one mind, one life, and that life is God. That life is my life now. In God, I live and move and have my being. And God lives in me and moves through me as me. I deny then that there is any life separate from God. And I affirm that every organ, action, and function in my physical body is animated by the divine life that created and sustains it. It is this life that is circulating through me now in happiness and harmony and with perfect rhythm. Today, my eyes are open more widely and I look out upon a broader horizon. Across all the experiences I may have had that were limited or unpleasant, I now see the rosy hue of a new dawn. Letting go of that which is little, I now enter into a larger concept of life. Dropping all fear, I entertain faith. Realizing that every form of uncertainty is seeing only in part, I open my spiritual eyes to that which is wholeness. Today I accept new ideas from the creativity of God. My whole consciousness is alive and awake and aware. It is impregnated with divine ideas, and these divine ideas of greater, more expanded good bear their glorious fruit in my mind, body, life, world, and affairs. Today, then, I expect new ways of doing things. I expect to meet new people, form new friendships. I expect everything in my experience to enlarge and deepen and broaden. I expect more good than I have ever experienced before. And today, I expect to give out more, to increase my love for others. Today, I expect from myself a more gentle approach to life, a more kindly feeling, a more giving impulse. New thoughts, new ideas, new people, new situations, new ways of doing things, and a new influx of the divine make this day, this month of August, this life, perfect and expressive of limitless bounty from the storehouse of infinite good. Today, my eyes are open to the breadth and the height and the depth of life that is God, the life that is good, and the law that is perfect. And this is a very good thing. So I give thanks. I give thanks right now that it is so, and I let it be. And so it is. Now, let our hearts rejoice in song by hearing Jennifer Farron sing Inside Job.
Well, I've been searching outside myself, looking high and low, asking everyone else, what's the meaning of life, and why am I here? And the answers I get ain't what I want to hear. Perhaps if I took time to be still, I would hear the voice of higher will. 'Cause it's an inside job, I gotta look within, I gotta stop, yeah, take time to listen. It's an inside job, gotta free my mind, oh, take a deep breath, see what I find on the inside, oh yeah. I stay so busy, just running around. I'm spinning my wheels as my life turns upside down. It's a wonder I function, it's a wonder I'm sane. My soul is waiting for something to say. Perhaps if I took time to be still, I would hear the voice of higher will. 'Cause it's an inside job, I gotta look within, I gotta stop, oh, and take time to listen. It's an inside job, gotta free my mind and take a deep breath, see what I find on the inside. I care enough to slow it right on down. 'Cause when I'm still, I know the answers are gonna be found. 'Cause it's an inside job, I gotta look within, I gotta stop, yeah, and take time to listen. It's an inside job, gotta free my mind, watch my relax, take a real good look inside. It's an inside job, searching for peace of mind. Gonna take a breath, see what I find. 'Cause it's an inside job.
Good morning, CSL Midtown, Atlanta, and beyond. I have missed you, and I am so happy to be back with you today. Happy August, new month, as we've said, new theme, pause for guidance. And this theme really resonates with me because I have been on a pause for, it seems like, several months, and I will talk some more about that in a bit. So our topic today, as Maya and Reverend Dr. Bob have said, is time for a tune-up. Time for a spiritual tune-up, of course. Spiritual tune-up. What does that even mean? They get so cute with these talk titles sometimes, don't they? What is a spiritual tune-up? How do you get one? How do you do one? So I thought we would break this down today. Before we talk about a spiritual tune-up, let's just talk about what a tune-up is in general. When I hear the words tune-up, my mind goes to two places. The first thing I think of is a car tune-up. Now, I hate to sound like a stereotypical woman who doesn't know much about cars, but I don't know much about cars. But one thing I do know is, depending on how old your car is and how many miles are on it, it's a good idea to get it tuned up every year or every couple of years, which means you have a trained professional mechanic inspect under the hood, check things out, so your vehicle runs smoothly and powerfully at its optimal performance. The mechanic visually looks at all the engine components and observes things. A tune-up is an observation of what's working right in your car, what might need fixing or tightening. It's a chance to discover and make repairs if necessary. Okay, so this is already interesting. One way to think of a tune-up: inspection, observation, an opportunity to discover and make repairs. Okay, let's keep that in mind. Now, the second place that my mind goes when I hear tune-up is a musical instrument. Now, if you think I don't know much about cars, I know even less about musical instruments. But I do know that they have to be tuned up in order to sound right. And I have a very specific memory of this. I know I've mentioned here before that many years ago I taught elementary school. And in the school that I taught, the 5th and 6th graders had orchestra class. But for some reason, they didn't have a classroom for orchestra, so they would hold it in the middle of the quad of the school. So it was like a big open area in the middle of the school, and the hallways for the classrooms would come off of this quad. So inevitably, I would have to walk through the quad at the beginning of orchestra class, you know, if I was going to like the copy machine or the office, and there would be all this musical noise going on that did not sound great. It wasn't songs or music, it was just the noise of all these different notes playing, and that's because the instruments were getting a tune-up. So the music teacher would be walking around to each student as they were doing their scales and playing these different notes, and he would be listening closely and making adjustments to the strings. Now, I have to admit, I had to Google what this really meant and to understand what he was really doing. And I learned that doing a tune-up on a musical instrument it means adjusting it to the right pitch so that the notes sound right and match what the music says. Giving it a tune-up aligns it. Now, doing this with multiple instruments in an orchestra is important because you tune them all to a common pitch, so the sounds they produce are all in harmony and sound as beautiful as the music intends. Now, I found this fascinating. A tune-up puts the instruments in alignment with themselves and the music and each other. Isn't that intriguing? Okay, so a spiritual tune-up. Now, first, let me go out on a limb here and assume that we all know that we are spiritual beings having a human experience, and that it is our nature to seek a relationship with the divine, spirit, the God within us. And that is a process. That is a journey that we're all on, whether we realize it or not. And it is a good idea every now and then to pause for guidance and do a little spiritual tune-up. So if we take what we know about car tune-ups and musical instrument tune-ups and apply it to our spiritual life, this gets really interesting because our goal would then become to see what's working and what's not, to strengthen and repair, if necessary, our relationship with the divine, to inspect and observe what we're doing, to check our own alignment, our alignment with the spirit within, and even with each other. Now, we know that the way we have a relationship with the divine is through our spiritual practice, whatever that may be. I know you don't need a laundry list of spiritual practices, but I'm going to give you one anyway. You're doing one practice right now by tuning into a Sunday service at a CSL center or any spiritual institution, but we want you to tune into this one, and being part of a community. You might take a spiritual development class or read inspirational books or devotionals. You may meditate, pray, practice spiritual rituals, commune with nature, practice gratitude, have a session with a prayer practitioner, volunteer and be of service, go on retreats like Maya mentioned. The list goes on and on. I'm sure you're doing some of these things. A spiritual tune-up really involves looking at and observing our spiritual practice to see what's working for us and sometimes to discover what's not working for us. Now, I mentioned earlier that this month's theme, Pause for Guidance, really resonates with me because I have been doing this. I have been on a pause doing my own spiritual tune-up. Now, I'm going to share my story as an example, but it is just an example. Your spiritual tune-up is going to look different because it's yours. All of ours will be different. So for the past probably 10 years, my spiritual practice involved three main things: meditating, reading spiritual books, and taking spiritual development classes, like back-to-back classes. If it involved more training, more ordaining, more certifying, I was doing it. And what happened to me was, quite suddenly last winter, all of these programs I was in and classes that I was taking didn't feel right. The passion and joy of that experience was no longer there. And that felt alarming to me and shocking to me and just plain weird, not like me. So I knew I had to pay attention to those feelings. I had to pause for some guidance. And when I began to inspect my spiritual life and observe what I was doing, I discovered that I was out of balance and out of alignment with my true self. I knew I needed to do something different with my spiritual practice, but I didn't know what, and I wasn't quite sure why. I needed help, which is kind of funny because, when you need a car tune-up, you just go to a professional mechanic and you don't think anything of it. Well, for a spiritual tune-up, there are professionally trained spiritual practitioners. Hello. How lucky are we that in New Thought and CSL centers that we have practitioners who know all about prayer and treatment and spiritual practice. And I thought that was so lovely the way Dr. Bob put it in the beginning. He said they are practitioners of spiritual guidance. Yes. And let me assure you, these are very helpful people. So I did that. I saw a practitioner and I received an amazing spiritual mind treatment. And I got some great advice to take my concern to spirit, to God, through prayer. The advice was to straight up ask spirit what I needed to do for more connection, more joy, more alignment. And I did that. And I prayed about that. We're all prayers here. And lo and behold, a book landed in my lap. Now, those of you who are spiritual readers and do that for your spiritual practice, you've probably had this experience too, where a book just kind of shows up and you're not even sure why you ordered it or why you felt compelled to pull it off the bookstore shelf or the library shelf, or maybe a friend or acquaintance just randomly recommends and hands you a book. We know that's spirit in action, right? So the book was called Writing Down Your Soul by Janet Connor. It looks like this. It has a really cool owl on the front. And the subtitle of the book is How to Activate and Listen to the Extraordinary Voice Within. Now, the book is about using journaling to connect and align with Source. It's about the actual spiritual practice of journaling. And I mean down to what type of journal you should get, what kind of pen you want to use, the time of day you write, the actual act of journaling. And the author is very thorough and in-depth, and she explains what happens neurologically in our brain hemispheres when we write to Source with a pen and a journal. There is science behind it, and she talks about what happens. This is not a book I would normally ever have chosen to read. I did not journal as a spiritual practice ever. I don't like it, which is ironic because I'm a writer, but I'm not a journaler. Now, I don't want to give away the whole book, but essentially the challenge in the book is to write for 10 to 15 minutes a day, about 3 pages in a journal for 30 days in a row. You write conversational letters to God, to the God within you. And the book is, of course acknowledges that, if the word God doesn't work for you, you can say, dear Spirit, dear friend, dear one. Right away, you're granted freedom in your journaling. This is your own relationship with Source. She calls it the voice within. So on every page, she begins with, Dear Voice. And the book teaches you how to have this conversation in writing with the wisdom that is within you. She says it is about showing up, tuning up. Oh, I said that wrong. Showing up, opening up, listening up, and following up. That's what she says it's about. Now, I would add that it's also about tuning up. Reading that book and doing that first month's challenge led to me actually receiving responses from God, Spirit, the wisdom within me. And the author explains, what to look for and what this writing and journaling is actually revealing to us. I began to see the power of my word in action. So I started this challenge in December of last year, December 2020. And I haven't stopped yet. So I guess I am a journaler now. But I kid you not, I have seen the things that I write, declare, and demand of the law manifest into form. More so with this journaling practice than any other spiritual practice I had done before. So all I know is for me, adding this spiritual journaling practice really worked. So my spiritual tune-up was pausing, being still, going within, asking the Spirit within me to reveal what it was that I needed. And through this new spiritual practice that was revealed to me, I realized how truly out of balance I had been and why I needed something new. You see, I had been studying about God, taking class after class after class, but I wasn't experiencing God. I wasn't experiencing the power of the Spirit that is within me. Learning about God is not the same as experiencing God. And I needed both to be a better minister, to be a better human. That was a heck of a tune-up for me. I mean, holy moly, it made me more aligned with my highest good and my best life, my best capital L life. So my point is not to tell you to run out and get this book and start journaling, although obviously I highly recommend it, but that's just my example. My point is to show you this process of just observing, inspecting, and being open to doing something different. Asking for guidance and letting something new be revealed that may bring you closer to God and bring you more in alignment with Spirit. This is a choice that we get to have. A spiritual tune-up is a choice to not only be reachable, but teachable. This observation and evaluation takes some time. It takes stillness, some honesty, some asking of spirit, and some trust. But I would remind you that spirit within never fails to respond when we ask from a place of believing in and trusting our unity with it. Spirit within never fails to respond when we ask from a place of believing in and trusting our unity with it. It does not fail. So a couple weeks ago, something happened to me that I think beautifully illustrates this idea. So one thing you may not know about me is I love birds. I love watching birds. I love feeding birds. So I have a bunch of bird feeders all around the outside of our house, including a hummingbird feeder out back on our patio. It's actually right behind me out there. And they love it. But what happens though is sometimes the little guys get confused. And if we leave our garage door up, which is around the corner, they think they're headed under the patio toward the feeder, but they will accidentally go into the garage and they get stuck. And this has happened about 4 times, I think, since we've lived here. You would think we just would learn to shut the door, but no, we don't do that. So a couple weeks ago, we had a friend over for dinner and we were walking her out to her car, and sure enough, there was a hummingbird flitting around the garage and he was stuck. And he was crying and squeaking. And if you've never heard a hummingbird cry, they do cry, and it is the saddest, most pitiful little squeak you've ever heard. So we had to get him out. Now, if we were meeting in person, I would love to take a survey of the room and see who knows how to solve this problem when a hummingbird is stuck in your garage. There is a very specific trick to it, and we know all about it. All you need is a rake. A regular garden rake that you would use to rake leaves up with. So you take the rake and you slowly lift the rake up to where the bird is flitting around, and you hold it there as still as you possibly can. And eventually, the little hummingbird will stop flitting around and he will get on the rake and perch there. It's amazing. He really will do it. But you're not done. You then have to very, very slowly lower the rake down and carry the bird out of the garage. This is not an easy process, and in our experience, it takes about, I would say, 10 to 15 tries. Because if you move too fast and you try to rush the situation, the bird gets spooked and he flies back off the rake and you have to start all over again. But eventually, the hummingbird stays on long enough and aligns with the rake. It trusts the rake. It trusts you holding the rake. And the bird is led exactly where it needs to go. And it's free. Now, I'm sure you're sensing my analogy here. Do you know how hard it is for a hummingbird to be completely still? Unless it is stopping to drink sugar water, of course. They almost never stop flying. That is true. It goes against their very nature to be still. But the little guy did it because he needed some guidance. He wanted some guidance. In so many ways, it goes against our nature to be still. We humans like to flit about with our ideas and our egos and our busyness, don't we? I encourage you to take this challenge today and be still for a spiritual tune-up. Trust. Spirit will show you exactly what you need to get in alignment. Let Spirit lead you exactly where you need to go. Let's take this into just a brief moment of stillness and prayer. Know this with me, that there is only one power, one presence, one life, And that life that I call God is infinite wisdom and harmony. Right now, I bask in this truth that I am one with this life, that the wisdom within me at the center of my being is God's wisdom. It is always there. It is always here. I know that this is true for me, and I know that this is true for all, for every person listening and watching, whether that is now or later on. And I know that with just a simple choice, I can tune in to the wisdom of God within me. That is all that is mine to do. It is my turning toward and my tuning in and tuning up that puts things in motion, because the wisdom is already there. It's always there, quietly awaiting my seeking, my stillness, my attention, and my acceptance. And I accept this. Right here and now, I claim and declare that I am tuned up and aligned with my spiritual truth. I say yes to this. I say yes to receiving the guidance that is already mine, to being reachable and teachable. And I know Spirit echoes this yes. I give great thanks that this is the way that life works, that we can ask, believing in the truth of our unity with all life. I am so grateful for this and for all the ways this guidance is revealed. I know that my word is powerful, and I trust that this prayer is complete and its purpose is fulfilled. I can release this now knowing it is done, and so it is. Amen. Thank you so much for having me, CSL Midtown, and I will pass this back to Maya, my friend.
Thank you so much, Reverend Cynthia. Such a pleasure to have you speak to us again. And I look forward to having many, many more opportunities of your wonderful talks. Now is a special time for all of us here at our center. It's our time and our opportunity to give. So let us move into our affirmation for prosperity.
And it's time for...
So I invite you to read along with me and to speak this out loud, because as you are giving, this is an opportunity that we have to bless what it is that we're giving, and to bless ourselves in our giving, knowing that as we give abundantly, we receive accordingly. I live in a universe of abundance. As I freely and joyfully give, I join in the divine flow. And all that I share with life returns to me multiplied abundantly. And so it is. Before we move into hearing from Dr. Bob, I just want to let you know that next week's title for the talk will be delivered. Well, next week's talk will be delivered by Dr. Bob, and the title is going to be A Playful Pause. Thanks so much, CSL Midtown.
And it's time for everybody's favorite fun game, announcements. Hey, stay in touch with the Center for Spiritual Living Midtown through our newsletter. Get one email a week letting you stay informed. And please subscribe when visiting YouTube to our YouTube channel. Those subscriptions go a long, long way. And while you're on your social media, why not give us a like and a share on Facebook? Let your friends know what we're doing. Invite them to come watch our services with you. And join us on our Zoom room throughout the week. We offer a variety of Zoom interaction opportunities each and every week here as part of the Center for Spiritual Living Midtown. 10 a.m. Sundays, our discussion group around the 365 Science of Mind book. Every Sunday, 12 noon Sundays, our community fellowship immediately following our Sunday services, and 12 noon on Tuesday, our online empowerment opportunity. The access information remains the same for all of our Zoom experiences. If you need access, please visit cslmidtown.org and you'll find access information on our website. Join us on any of our Zoom opportunities throughout the week. And while you're with us, be sure to connect with one of our professional practitioners. These are folks that are highly trained to support you along your spiritual journey. You can learn more on our website about our professional practitioners. Just head over to cslmidtown.org, click on About and Practitioners. Then you'll see their bios and a way to reach them and learn a little bit more about each of them. And please send us your prayer requests. Click on the Home tab and look for Affirmative Treatment Prayer Requests. Fill out the form, send it off, and get our professional practitioners praying for you each and every day. All right.
Wow, what a wonderful day. Thank you, Maya. Thank you, Reverend Cynthia, for all that you've shared. Join me now as we close with this affirmation of life. I leave this place now knowing something better than I knew before. I go forth into the world with a heart full of love and a mind full of good sense. I look at the world in a greater way, knowing that I have within me everything I need to create the life I desire. I give thanks for this understanding. I am grateful for the spirit of life that lives through me. And so it is. Join us now as we, over on the Zoom link, which you'll find on our website, cslmidtown.org, and we'll have some sharing and other conversation. Thank you.